Hello and welcome to our preview show ahead of today's game against Reading. We're starting the new year, obviously, off at the John Smith Stadium. And to talk us through this game and to take a little trip down memory lane, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by former Huddersfield Town left-backs Chris Löwe and Tareiq Holmes-Dennis, alongside Town fan and broadcaster Andy Lawson, and, of course, Mel Booth. How is everyone? You all okay?
All good, thank you, Adam.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, good, Adam.
Fantastic. Löwe, the Town fans haven't heard from you since you left the club. I'm sure everyone around the club is interested to see how you're getting on and how life has treated you since you left Huddersfield.
Yeah, Adam, hi. I'm okay. I'm good. All healthy. Most important thing at the minute for all of us. So it was the right decision 1.5 years ago to left England, not to leave Huddersfield, but for my mind and for us as a family, it was a good decision to move back home.
Yeah, you're enjoying your football at Dresden?
Not really, to be honest. Now we got relegated again. So 2 times in a row. For me, it wasn't a great time, to be honest. It was another hard season, but it looks a bit better this season, and hopefully we can get promoted this year.
Fingers crossed for you. We'll hopefully put a smile back on your face talking about the 2017 Sky Bet Championship playoff final. I mean, Andy, I'll start with you. Obviously, from a supporter's perspective, going into this match, it was just full of excitement, wasn't it?
It was, Adam. It was full of excitement. I mean, the word I would probably use actually is just nerves. I can remember a lot of the day, including going to the Asda at Wembley, like just north of the stadium, to have like some breakfast before getting to the ground and things. But the actual game, lots of it is just a complete blur. I can remember that I was getting like pins and needles everywhere. I was that nervous about everything that was going on. Then we got to the penalties, and you've seen like the images of Dean Hoyle on TV and things. Well, just imagine me looking exactly the same as Dean was, petrified. But also, in the end, what an amazing day.
Yeah. What was it like for you, Tareiq, in the build-up to the game?
Obviously, I wasn't tired, but it was still just as nervous because it's the biggest game of your career, man. And we had put in so much work throughout that season. And I'm sure, like Löwe knows, like as a dressing room, we were all like super tight. So it felt like for the whole season, we never really thought about the final, even though we knew that we could get to the playoffs. No one really spoke about it until like we got there. But once we did get there, it was like, oh, like, wow, we're actually here, you know. So yeah, I don't think you actually realize the magnitude and the size of the game until after. Like it was massive. It was crazy.
Yeah, because it wasn't easy, was it, to get to the playoff final, Mel? You fondly remember the trip to Hillsborough just before.
Yeah, I mean, the semi-final was an incredible match in itself. And I don't know that you probably asked Tareiq or Löwe this, but I think that experience probably helped when it came to the crunch at Wembley. But yeah, it was fantastic for the reaction to the win over Sheffield Wednesday in the semi-final was fantastic, and obviously carried through all the way to Wembley. But as Andy's rightly pointed out, everybody was very nervous about it. I know we got down there really early, and we were broadcasting outside. I think it was a Facebook Live outside before the game at the top of Wembley Way there, and Dean was walking round, and while we were talking, he came and sort of crowd bombed the thing, jumped on the back of us and go on Town like that. And I thought, well, this is your chairman, a couple of hours before the biggest match the club's had in, since the 20s basically. And Yeah, and there he is jumping on us and saying, "Come on, town." So I don't know whether that was just Dean disguising his nerves or whatever, but yeah, it's one of the fond memories I've got of before the game, certainly.
Yeah, and then obviously, Löwe, Tareiq, you were able to go to Wembley before the playoff final. It was the day before, wasn't it? Did that help settle the nerves a little bit, that you could go there, look around the stadium? It wasn't all put on you on that day?
Not really, to be honest, because it was empty, was it?
Yeah.
So it was a complete different feeling the day before. You were just a little bit nervous, I would say, but it changed on the day after. When you walk in the stadium is full. You see your supporters. You know how big that day is, and you know that is a once in a lifetime chance for a lot of players. So it was a strange feeling, I would say.
What was it like for you, Tareiq?
It's surreal. You go to the stadium, looking around, and as a kid, it's always like you want to play at Wembley, and you're not sure how soon or late that might come in your career. And obviously, with my personal circumstances, to have been able to have done that and actually been part of a successful team, like you look back on it and you think just how lucky you actually was to be involved in that. At the time, you know you're lucky, and you're like soaking up the atmosphere. But when you look back on it, it just gets better every time you actually think about it and you look at the pictures and the videos. And yeah, it was really part of that.
Did you get much sleep the night before?
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit of a restful one. It wasn't a clean sleep, that's for sure. We were sleeping at a hotel at the stadium, so you're thinking like you wake up, you look outside, it's like, oh, we're playing there tomorrow. You know what I mean? But I don't think it was the best sleep I've ever had.
Yeah, I can't imagine you got much, Andy, either.
I don't think I slept at all, to be honest, that night. I can remember we got up early, obviously coming from the north, in my personal case, coming from the other side of the Pennines. And I can remember setting off and coming from like the M6 side. Obviously, at first, it was like, oh, this is a normal day. There's not much traffic. And then we came down the M42, I think it is, and joined in the M1 about Leicester. And suddenly, every single vehicle on the road has got something blue and white in it. I think I saw the Forestieri Fun bus at one point driving down, and all the cars with the scarves and everything. And it was an amazing start to the day. I've never had a start to the day quite like that one. But yeah, I definitely think I was doing that day on adrenaline more than sleep.
Yeah, I think we all were, to be honest. And the dressing room was all kitted out as well, Löwe. What was that like? Did that add to the magnitude of the game when you arrived at the stadium and you're in a dressing room of that size with Huddersfield Town crests, David Wagner's slogans all over the dressing room?
Yeah, it was very special. You know, our way to the stadium was special. You see all the supporters around the stadium. Then you walk in the dressing room. The dressing room was just unreal to see how the dressing room look like. So you know that day is a special day for all of us, for all players, for all the staff, for all the supporters, and I'm just happy that we won the game.
What was it like for you, Mel? Obviously, you said that you saw Dean prior to the game. I think he cycled down as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was one of those that they'd chosen to. Was it to go to the last game, if I remember rightly? I can't remember what it was. The last game of the season, and it obviously ended up being the playoff final, which was crazy, really. But yeah, and you know, it was so special for lots of reasons, really. But that big, as the guys, the you know, Chris and Tareiq have already said, just that chance to be able to go to the Premier League. You know, it's said quite often that it's the biggest game in English football for all sorts of reasons, and you know, to be involved in it, even as part of the press corps. You know, it was, I can't remember how many playoff finals we've been in, but it was the 4th or 5th or whatever that I'd done, and you know, they're all special for one reason or another. Although we forget the one at Old Trafford, of course, but the others have pretty much been really good for Town, and obviously penalties have been great for us in the playoffs. So yeah, it was a special day. I think some of us were invited. We went with the sponsors for a bit of a lunch type thing beforehand, like a buffet thing and what have you. But then it was seriously down to work, and you know, you're into work mode and you forget about the occasion to some degree and focus on the match, which was a bit unfortunate, really.
In terms of the build up to the game, Tareiq, did anything change, or was it just the normal routine that was in place?
I think the main thing that changed was the boss, David Wagner, wearing a suit rather than a tracksuit. I remember him coming in and saying, "Lads, I'm sorry, but I have to wear a suit today. I wish I was wearing a tracksuit as well, but I've got to wear a suit." So other than that, the way we approach, obviously, it's different, but just the approach in the morning, the speech and that, nothing changed too much. Obviously, we knew the magnitude of the game, but yeah, I think we tried to keep it as the same as normal as possible.
Yeah, and Andy, for you, obviously walking down Wembley Way to the ground, seeing all the Town fans, what was that like?
Oh, I had a similar experience to Mel in the way, but I wasn't actually working that game. But at the time, I was working for Radio Yorkshire, and a couple of my colleagues were there, and I kind of did similar to them as Mel did to, or as Dean Hoyle had done to Mel. And I can just remember just seeing like Town fans everywhere and seeing like colleagues there doing Vox Pop interviews, so interviewing fans and things. It was like, this is such a different day, and we've been to Wembley before. We, as Mel has said, we've experienced penalties at Wembley before, so you kind of know everything that Wembley is likely to bring to you that day, and just the excitement on everybody as you're walking around. There's this slightly shell-shocked feeling, like in all the Town fans, almost like, are we really here? Has this journey brought us to Wembley Stadium? But also as you get into the ground and you're looking around, and you obviously you're in an away ground, if you like, so you don't have your usual football family around you, and you're just looking at all these faces and you, oh yeah, I know you, I've seen you before, and things like that. But you can also see, I've never seen you looking this nervous before. And as you're kind of looking around, the nerves got even more, and you get to the penalties, and it's like everybody is just like, the blood has drained from their face. It was just an amazing experience for all the Town fans, and to be part of that collective of Town fans on the day.
Are you glad that you weren't working it?
Yes, yeah, I think I am, because I mean, I'm lucky as well, because on this chat that we're having today, I'm like the only person who could see it purely from a fan perspective. I wasn't having to worry about marking anybody tactics or writing up the report at the end of the day. I could just enjoy it, and I'm lucky because I have seen football both sides of that kind of that divide, if you like, the working and the fan side. And for me, looking back, I can just thoroughly now enjoy it and not have to have thought I was worrying about anything. And I, for example, like watched this morning the penalties again, and I still get exactly the same feeling of tension, of nervousness. Like my whole body kind of tenses up and things through it, but I can still enjoy that, and I can still make the most of that as a fan. So yeah, Adam, I would say I enjoy working in football. I love working in football, but just in that particular day, to experience it as a fan, yeah, that was how I'd like to remember it. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think looking back on the videos, I still get the same emotion when I'm watching the penalty shootouts. Löwe, but before the game, when you're in the dressing room, you're getting ready. David Wagner's giving his final team talk before you step out. What did he say to you in those moments, and how did that help you all? Because we got off to a pretty quick start in the game, didn't we?
To be totally honest, I have no idea what he just said before the game. I can't remember what he said, but it is the same when we just before the penalties. He said something before the penalties. I have no idea what he said. I was just I adjusted focus on the game and on the penalties then. I think what Tareiq said, it was just trying to be as normal as it could be for the game, just trying to get your normal routines in and just focus on the game.
I suppose the biggest difference there was when you walked out onto the pitch, you looked around and you could see a wall of yellow and black stripes around the Huddersfield Town fans.
Yeah, that was something special. You know, when you walk in, national anthem before the game and stuff like this. So that is the point where you really know that is a special day.
It looked incredible, Mel, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I mean, on each occasion that the club have been back to Wembley in recent times, in the last 30 years, it's been a fantastic turnout of fans, and they've come from all over the place, haven't they? I mean, I think someone flew in from Perth in Australia, didn't they? Just for the weekend, you know, just so that they could be there, and that sort of shows you how much it means to everyone. And yeah, as Andy's rightly said about going down the motorway, you know, even the day before, it was packed with town fans going down there. It was really, really, really good. And yeah, it's I can only assume from what Chris has just said that it is an inspiring thing for the players. It really you know, makes you realise that, you know, you're part of something pretty big. And yeah, it was a good atmosphere, which obviously the game itself, the 120 minutes, didn't particularly live up to. But yeah, the finale and the penalties were fantastic. I just wondered if Chris knew he was going to be the first penalty taker.
Yeah.
Had that been sorted out beforehand, Chris?
No, not before, but as you said before, we had the experience from our semi-final against Sheffield, and that was the reason why it was clear that the first four is the same as in the semi-final. Just the fifth one has to change.
Yeah.
And obviously in the game, Mel, you said it obviously wasn't a fantastic spectacle, but equally we had two really good chances early on, didn't we? I mean,
unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, how we weren't 2-0 up inside 10 minutes is, you know, I mean, every time you see that the header from Heth, you can't imagine how he's put it wide, and also what looked a tap in at the back post for Izzy Brown, and that one went astray as well. And there weren't many chances after that, not real good chances at all. They were clearly the best two chances of the game. I think Naki had a shot in extra time that went just wide, and I think they had was it McCleary for them that had a shot that was, you know, there were few and far between, and the game itself was a little bit tense. I remember, you know, Aaron played ever so well for Town on the day, you know, prompting and probing and what have you, and creating things like he did. And I think Danny Williams, obviously for them, caught the eye for Reading at the time, and subsequently, of course, we signed him. But Danny had a very good game for Reading, I felt. But it wasn't a sort of free game. It seemed to be sort of tethered by, you know, the occasion, really.
What was it like on the bench for you, Tareiq, as this was all unfolding? Because you've obviously got to be ready to come on at any moment, given any different circumstances. Equally, I suppose you want to be there watching, supporting the lads.
Yeah, you know, I think there was a point in the game, second half, I remember early on, and Löwe went down. I think he had a little knock, and I was thinking, go on then, Löwe, like, get up. And he stayed down for a bit longer, and I thought, right, I'll go get warm. Went and got warm, and then he got up and he was okay. But that initial feeling was like, damn, I might get on here. Do you know what I mean? So it's nerve-wracking, the nerve-wracking moment. But it was just as we was probably more tense on the bench than the players on the pitch, because we're watching them, we can't help. There's nothing we can do. So we're just like, every challenge you feel, every touch you feel. So it was probably harder being on the bench watching, you know. But we were just so proud of like watching the boys. We knew what they could do. We've been doing it all season, so it was just doing it in front of so many fans, and it was a surreal occasion for sure.
What do you remember from the game, Löwe, in terms of the actual 90 minutes and then going into extra time?
You know, as Mel said, we had 2 big chances in the first 10 minutes with Hef and Izzy. But I think then in the second half, there was a point where, every team knows that one mistake will kill the game. And that was the reason why, we haven't created as many as we could or as we did in the games before. Just because we wanted to keep the clean sheet, because we had the experience from our semi-final that Wardy can save a penalty and we can score our penalties. So that was the reason why the game was a bit slow, I would say.
And then obviously after extra time, Andy, it went into penalties. There in the stands, what's going through your mind at that point when, right, 120 minutes, 0-0, penalties?
Weirdly, actually, I would have said the start of the penalties, at least, was one of the calmest moments I had through the game, because we've got experience of penalties. In big finals, you look at the Sheffield United game, for example, a few years before, and just at first you realise that we can do this. This is something we've got, and then the reality kicks in, because I think it was Jan Kermorgant scored the first goal for Reading because they went ahead of us, and then suddenly it became real, and then Löwe steps up and scores his penalty. So you kind of get that, calmness of the equilibrium, and you go through the penalties. And obviously then, as you get further through and everything that happened with the Hef miss and things, your nerves, they do build back up. And actually, to be honest, the Christopher Schindler penalty in that moment, I don't remember, because I've seen the clip off Sky so many times now. All I can visualize is what it looks like kind of from the TV moment. But it was not nervy at first, but definitely those nerves, they built up as we went through the penalties.
Yeah, obviously, Löwe, you took the first penalty, like we've already discussed. What was it like walking down, first of all, to the penalty spot, and then when did you decide where you were going to put the ball?
To be honest, I can't remember the walk to the penalty spot. It was like, when I see it now on a clip, it could be a different player. I spoke before the penalties with one of our analysts about their goalkeeper, and he just said to me that he moves quite early. And I decided then before the penalty that I am going to watch the goalkeeper, and it worked. So it was the right decision.
Did he tell Hef that?
Probably, but he's not as good as I am from the penalty spot, I would say.
Because he had such a good game, didn't he, Mel? And then obviously stepped up for the penalty. Unfortunately, missed it at that point. It turned, didn't it? Everyone was worried.
Yeah, it wasn't a great penalty, was it? To be fair, but he had a really good game. Him and Shindy had looked after that Reading attack pretty well. Not I'm not. I think Chris had a great season as well and had a good final, and Tommy Smith had a super season too, and that back line was pretty good on the day as well. There, as I've already said, Reading had very few opportunities to really cause us any problems, and it was the team thing, obviously. But Hefford had a good game at the back. as I say, shame if those couple of early chances had gone in, you think that probably the way the season had gone, we would probably have seen it out, and after 90 minutes been lifting that trophy rather than a penalty shootout. But that miss put us behind the 8 ball in a way, and obviously it wasn't until the guy blazed over, was it Moore?
Yeah.
He blazed over that, sort of you think, oh wow, and then I think it was Aaron stepped up, didn't he, to level things up. And then a real abiding memory. Everybody talks about Shindy scoring the winning penalty, but what a fantastic save by Danny Ward from Jordan Abita, wasn't it? To give Shindy that opportunity with the final penalty. It was a great save, and all of a sudden, within the space of a minute 90 seconds, the whole thing had changed round.
Yeah, and then the Hef went round, didn't he, Tareiq, telling everyone that he meant to miss the penalty to just put a little bit less pressure on Reading.
I think so. I can't even remember.
Obviously, then Naki stepped up, like Mel said, and scored. It was a really big penalty, that, wasn't there? Because of the pressure after, obviously, Hef missing, Reading going 3-1 up at that moment. But it was a fantastic, fantastic penalty.
Yeah, that was probably just as big. When you think of that, how important that stage of the shootout was, it's probably the biggest Shindy's one.
Yeah, and then Aaron Moy scored, like Mel said. Andy, you could see how much that penalty actually meant to him. I think that's probably one of the most emotive and the most emotion he's shown after scoring a goal or in a particular moment in the game while he was at Huddersfield Town.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm really learning as we're chatting today, Adam, is just how, like, to the players, to Löwe, to Tareiq, and to everybody else, just how they're trying to treat this as like any other game, but it's just absolutely obvious that this is not our normal game, and like everything that's kind of going on with it. And yeah, Aaron is somebody who, as a fan, you kind of look at what happens on the pitch, and yeah, Aaron's quite an understated kind of guy. He's an exceptionally talented guy, but yeah, he's very kind of understated. There's not much emotion comes out. But that was a real just glimpse into the world of Aaron Moy and into the world of the dressing room as to, yeah, just how important this moment really is for the team. And yeah, Aaron, classy player, did what needed to be done in the moment, and yeah, showed then his delight after he'd managed to put the ball in the back of the net.
And obviously, like we said, Liam Moore blazed his penalty over the bar. Then Danny Ward saved Jordan Obita's. Do you always have that belief, Löwe, that Danny Ward was going to save at least one penalty after what he did at Hillsborough?
Yeah, of course. But to be honest, after Hef missed his penalty and the young guy of Reading, Kelly, or I think it was, scored his penalty, I thought this was over. And then we, as we said, we had lucky moments that Moore just missed the target, and Wardy used a fantastic save in a very, very important moment. And then it was all down to Shindy basically to score. And that moment is I wouldn't say the only moment, but a moment which I can remember, because I just started crying before the ball was basically in the goal. It was, such a special moment, I think, for all of us. And, I think that moment, just that moment when Shindy scored, that emotion I will never have again in my life. So it was just unreal when he scored.
Yeah, it really, really was. And when obviously Shindy was walking down, Andy, could you believe that he was taking the fifth penalty? Obviously, there's strikers, attackers still on the pitch that's yet to take one. Yet Christopher Schindler walking down. Did you expect him to be taking it?
But he's a German.
Definitely right before the penalties. If you'd have said Shindy was going to take the fifth, I would not have thought that this was going to be how it would. That he would take the fifth, and that was kind of how it would end up. But also, then it's like Löwe kind of says he's got a very, I suppose, Germanic calmness about him almost as Shindy, and you could tell as he's walking up to the penalty spot, you can tell that. I think he was the calmest of everybody who was in either blue and white stripes or the yellow kit that day. He was the coolest person. I know as he was taking it, and again, I've seen it like so many times on the replay, Ali Al-Habsi, the Reading keeper, I think goes the right way and is very near to it. And so there's that moment in your mind and kind of in your heart where like, he is going to save this. And then he doesn't. And I mean, I don't remember exactly like everybody else. I don't actually remember specifically that moment, but I know no Town fan was sat at all at Wembley in that moment. I definitely wasn't sat. And I can just remember a lot of jumping around, being very, very happy that in that moment, that's then what I remember once Shindy's put the ball in the back of the net.
What was it like on the touchline, Tareiq?
Just watching and just disbelief. You're watching it thinking, good gosh, man, what's going to happen here? You know, and when Shindy's just rolled it in, and because it's gone in so slow, it's like for a second you're just like waiting, and it's gone. Oh, the reaction was just, when you watch the videos, that just says it all, man. You gotta put it into words.
Yeah, even when you're there and you're looking back on it, you sometimes question whether it actually happened and whether it was real. Mel, we were even celebrating in the press box, weren't we?
yeah, very unprofessional of us it was indeed, but yeah, it was great fun. Yeah, there were a few people punching in the air and hugging one another and what have you. Yeah, it was a great moment because obviously it meant so much to the club. I mean, the club hadn't been in the top flight since 1972. It was an awful long time ago, and I'm certainly the only person on here who can remember that. But yeah, it was a fantastic moment. It really was. Yeah, everyone afterwards was just so delighted that it had happened, you know, for the fans, but for the players as well, because they were you know, a really good bunch at that time, and I'm sure, as Tareiq's already said, that they were a very tight group. Delighted for the players, delighted for David Wagner, and absolutely thrilled for Dean, and you know, the journey that he'd taken the club on.
Yeah, talking about Dean there, I think there's been some fantastic videos put out. There was a camera specifically on Dean during the penalty shootout. He went through so many emotions, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he couldn't lift his face at one point, could he? He was just absolutely racked with nerves. And yeah, it just shows you how much it means, doesn't it? It really does. And especially when, you know, you're so involved in it all as the chairman and owner of the club, but you can't actually do anything about it. In that moment, you've got to trust the guys who are out there on the pitch to deliver what you've worked so hard to achieve. And yeah, all that emotion you could see invested there was, you know, a build-up of 10 years worth of hard work and lots of ups and downs along the way.
How much did that moment mean to you, Löwe?
It was for sure the biggest moment of my career. You know, that emotions, that feeling, what you had when he scored the penalty. You know, I still get goosebumps if I watch the clips or if I speak about it. So it was just amazing to be a part of that day.
Yeah, to Tareiq, I can imagine it's pretty similar for you.
Yeah, nice. It's crazy. Even thinking about it, like watching clips on it or pictures, it's just a memory that you'll have for life, and you'll never like you'll never get bored speaking about it, or you know what I mean. It's like when you're older and you've got grandkids and that, and show them that footage and be like, I was part of that, something to be proud of. And I think one of the one of the special things about that group was that everyone was at different stages of their career. You had like young players like me, Casey, we all like young coming Jack in. Then you had like the skipper who was towards the back, Dean Whitehead. Then you had like the middle, like Chris Löwe, Tommy Smith, Hoggy, XYZ. But it just yeah, everyone was on the same level on that day. Everyone was just feeling the same emotions, and yeah, it was a special group, man. When you look back on it, you realize like how special that time was throughout the season and how that group was.
Yeah, and you can't help but just smile, can you, Andy?
Yeah, you've absolutely said it, Adam. It's a dream. I mean, even now we've discussed this. There is always that part of you that's just like, did this really happen? And then you just type it into YouTube, Huddersfield Town penalty, or whatever, and you see Christopher Schindler put the ball in the back of the net, and you're like, it did. That makes me smile still.
Yeah, every year when we roll it out as well, it's on social media. You just brimming ear to ear, aren't you?
Oh yeah, but look, I'm just thinking about it now, and you can see how much I'm smiling. This is how much that moment means to me, and I think for every single Town fan, I don't think anybody can watch that and not get just as emotionally into it as they were on the day.
Yeah. Did you have family there, Löwe? How much did it mean to them?
Yeah, my wife was there with my little one. You know, they just were happy that we've done it. They knew how much it means to me to win that game. So they were just happy for me then.
I can imagine it's similar to you, Tareiq. Did you have family there?
Yeah, I had quite a few family and friends there. It was, yeah, obviously wicked for them as well, just as much for me. I've also got quite a family that are actually from Huddersfield, so that was special as well because like the club is as important to them. It would have been like for me, so to have that side of it as well, like they would have been like delighted. So yeah, it was proud moment for sure.
And then the celebrations after Tareiq were just magnificent, weren't they? In the dressing room, then I can imagine what the bus was like on the way back up to Huddersfield. And then was it the next 2 or 3 days?
I think the dressing room was crazy. Like that was like just the best. And then the 4-hour drive back to Huddersfield, and it felt like maybe half an hour. It went quick. Like we were just like having fun on the way back. And then I think the most surreal bit for me was when we went on the bus and you realize just how many. Sometimes you can think, oh, Huddersfield, it's not a big town, and see how many people were in Huddersfield and in the town centre, like around for that parade, and that was special, man. That was special.
What was that like for you, Löwe, on the bus and the celebrations, and then on the parade where you can see thousands and thousands of Huddersfield Town fans flocking in the streets, waving flags, blowing horns?
As Tareiq said, it was really, really special. You know, driving through the town in the bus with all that people around the bus, just celebrating. It was really, really special, and I have still some videos on my phone and watch them sometimes because it just makes me smile.
Yeah, it really pulled the whole town and surrounding areas together, didn't it, Mel?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, all the successes of the club, obviously, you realise how much a club means to a community when you see things like that, and that that everyone wants to celebrate the success, obviously, and there's always been a great turnout of town fans for return parades in the town centre. It's they've been special occasions, all of them, and I think that one was particularly special, and obviously outside the train station and all that sort of thing. It was fantastic. Everyone was on a real high, and obviously it carried on into the next season by staying up as well. So it was an extended party in many ways.
Yeah, It really was a fantastic moment, and it's put me in a fantastic mood to start 2021. Guys, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we can create more memories in the next coming years. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.